There's something magical about coming back to the beginning of a legendary series like Dragon Quest. When I first booted up Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D Remake, it struck me how quietly confident these games are. They don't try to reinvent the wheel. I mean, to be honest, they kind of built it to begin with, but somehow, even after all this time, this remake makes that foundation feel brand new again. It's nostalgic without being trapped by nostalgia. It's a reminder of where JRPGs came from and a celebration of how far they've come. When Square Enix first revealed that the earliest Dragon Quest entries were getting this HD-2D treatment, the same art style they used in Dragon Quest III Remake, as well as Octopath Traveler, Live Alive, among many other titles, it was a dream come true for me. These are sacred games in the history of the genre, the blueprint for almost everything that followed them. The original Dragon Quest games are simple, charming, but also brutally straightforward, limited by the technology of their time. They were games of imagination as much as experience, worlds you filled in with your own sense of wonder because the game itself couldn't quite do it for you yet. That's what makes these remakes so special, because now with Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D Remake, that imagination has been realized. The world you used to picture as a kid, or maybe never had the chance to see at all, is finally alive in that amazing HD-2D art style that I personally love so much. I want to give a huge shout out to Square Enix for providing a review copy of this game so I can give you all my thoughts and impressions. And to be honest, spoiler alert here, I love these games. But with all that said, let's get into why. We've seen the HD-2D style a few times now. Octopath Traveler pioneered it, Triangle Strategy and Live Alive kind of experimented with it, but Dragon Quest III and Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D feel like the moment it all clicks. This right here is without question the best implementation of that style yet. It's not just that it looks pretty either, it's how it all comes together. Every tile of grass has that glimmering dewiness, every torch flickers, and every monster, from the smiling slimes to the sinister dragon lord, has a kind of painterly vibrancy to it that's hard to describe until you see it all in motion yourself. Every building with shiny floors has these insane reflections. It had me wondering how often they have to clean these floors to keep them that shiny. The depth of field effects are subtle but super effective. The towns fade into soft focus when you walk through them, and every time you walk into a new town and it does that sweeping camera view, I'm just so happy. It makes me feel like the thought and effort really went into these remakes. And yet, for all the visual polish, it still feels like Dragon Quest. There's a restraint to it, a respect for the original layouts, the geography, the flow of the world. You recognize everything instantly. The game doesn't drown you in new visual information. It just enhances what was already there in the best way possible. Mechanically, both Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remain faithful to their original blueprints. These are old school RPGs through and through. Random encounters, turn-based combat, limited party customization. You walk, you fight, you grind, and you grow stronger. But within that simplicity lies something timeless. The first Dragon Quest is still essentially a solo journey. You're just one hero facing the world alone. It's almost meditative in that sense. There's something pure about wandering the open world, fighting monsters, and slowly piecing together what you need to save the whole world. It's a loop that somehow still feels good in 2025. The remake doesn't alter that core rhythm at all, but it polishes everything around it. Menus are snappy, battle animations are quick but more expressive. The flow between overworld and combat is much more seamless. No awkward fade outs or jarring transitions. You can save easily, and there is autosave as well. You can track quests more clearly if you choose to do so, and you can navigate towns with a smoother camera. All these things are small, but together they make the game feel alive in a way the originals never could. Then there's Dragon Quest II. It's fascinating how much of a leap it was, even back in the day, and that sense of evolution is beautifully preserved here. You've got a full party this time, each with their own strengths and spells. The world opens up dramatically, full of islands to explore and secrets tucked away in its corners. The combat feels richer, the strategy much deeper. It's where Dragon Quest truly started to feel like this sprawling adventure the series has been known for. And make no mistake, these games are really hard. Even with all the polish, the core design hasn't been softened too much. Enemies hit hard, resources are limited, Some areas demand grinding and a lot of it. There's a ton of skill checks in 1 and 2, and you'll see them as you play through them. But here's the thing, the difficulty isn't unfair. I think, personally, it's earned. It's the kind of challenge that asks you to engage with the game's systems, to learn the rhythms of battle, to make every step count, to really put thought and precision into every move you make. When you finally overcome a tough dungeon or save up enough gold for that shiny new weapon, it feels incredibly rewarding. There's a patience to these games that modern JRPGs often skip. You can't just rush through them. You have to live in them for a bit. And once you surrender to that pacing and get used to the whole grind and kind of embrace it, it becomes part of the game's charm. With all that said, Square Enix clearly knows not everyone has time or the will to grind for hours on end like I do. Now you have Draculi Quest mode. This is essentially an easy mode. It matches what Dragon Quest III HD-2D had. It's implemented with a surprising amount of care. Enabling it doesn't feel like you're breaking the experience. There's really only two things it does. It increases the damage dealt to enemies and makes it so you can't die. You will always remain at 1 HP and will not get wiped out in any battle. This is essentially God mode, but there are a few ways you can use this. You don't have to play the entire game in this mode, although you definitely can. You can use it sparingly to explore off the beaten path. If you have a story beat you really want to get to, but don't want to grind too much at that time, switch it on and off. It's very seamless and can be used in a variety of ways to improve the overall experience. I personally played the entirety of 2 on normal mode, but I experimented with it quite a bit in Dragon Quest I just to see what kind of fun I could have, and I loved having it there. It's a great addition, not because it makes the game easier, but because it opens the door for more people to experience these classics without frustration. And it's optional. Like I said before, you can toggle it on and off as you wish. It's also kind of adorable. The name Draculi Quest fits the series' sense of humor so perfectly. It's a little wink to fans who know the, bat-like Draculi as one of the first monsters you encounter. It's a clever touch that keeps the tone lighthearted, even as it modernizes the overall experience. There were definitely moments, especially deep in these games, where flipping on this mode felt like a blessing. Moving on to story and voice acting, one of the biggest surprises of this remake is just how well told these stories are. We all know Dragon Quest I and II aren't exactly narrative epics. They're straightforward fairy tales, a hero, a villain, a kingdom in peril, but in this remake, that simplicity shines. The voice acting in particular breathes real life into these classic tales. Every line feels intentional, every exchange has warmth, the performances are subtle but full of personality. Your hero may still be silent, but the world around them isn't. The voice acting isn't happening too often, don't get me wrong, it's not all over the place all the time, but in those main story sequences, it's noticeably great. Even the monsters, through their animations and sound design, have a certain charm that adds to the overall atmosphere. The writing is really well done here. You still get that quaint, old English tone, but it's smoother and more readable. By the time you finish Dragon Quest II, it's genuinely affecting. There's a sense of legacy between these two games. How one story's resolution sets the stage for the next one. How courage passes from generation to generation, playing them back to back, especially in this beautifully unified presentation, makes that connection hit even harder. It's rare for such simple stories to feel so earnest, but Dragon Quest has always been about sincerity. Now, we can't talk about Dragon Quest without talking about its music, am I right? The compositions are iconic, and here they've been beautifully reorchestrated. The familiar overworld theme sounds absolutely stunning. The battles are punchy and dramatic. The towns have this cozy charm that instantly puts you in the mood for exploration. All of these things are what JRPGs are all about. And what stands out the most, though, is how the soundtrack interacts with the visuals. The HD-2D lighting and effects give the music room to breathe. When you're walking through a quiet forest at dusk, or entering in a new town, or exploring the overworld, it all feels so cinematic in a way that is hard to just explain. You just kind of have to be there. You have to experience it. It's a masterclass in presentation. It's never overwhelming. It all fits in really well. It's cohesive. The art, the sound, the pacing, everything works together to kind of pull you into this really immersive experience. What Dragon Quest I and II HD-2D achieve goes beyond just modernization. These games feel like an act act of preservation, a way to carry the original spirit into a form that's both accessible and fun. It's easy to think of remakes as kind of like do-overs or retries, but this isn't a replacement. It's a restoration. It's taking something that was always great and giving it the presentation it deserves. And what's beautiful is that these aren't just like museum pieces, for lack of a better way to describe it. They play well. They feel good. You could hand these to someone who's never touched a Dragon Quest before, and they'd understand immediately why these games mattered so much. It's a rare remake like this of games that are so old and classic that really managed to honor the past while standing proudly in modern day games. After spending time with both Dragon Quest 1 and 2 and this HD-2D remake, I came away with something I didn't expect, a renewed appreciation for the simplicity of classic JRPGs. In a landscape full of sprawling open worlds, cinematic storytelling, and endless side quests, there's something refreshing about a journey that's just about a hero or a sword and a world that honestly just needs saving. It's the essence of the genre distilled into its purest form, and now, finally, it's presented in a way that really takes it to the next level. These remakes are phenomenal. They add so much to the originals, visually, musically, and emotionally, and make them better in every way without losing what made them special in the first place. The HD-2D art style has never looked better. The challenge is still there for those who crave it, and the Draculi Quest mode offers a thoughtful way in for those who just want to experience the story. The voice acting and storytelling elevate these foundational tales into something completely unforgettable. Playing through these games back to back feels like tracing the history of JRPGs in general. It's nostalgic, but not just for the sake of being nostalgic. If you've ever wondered why the series has endured for nearly 40 years now, this is the perfect place to find out. Anyway, that's it for me in this one. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D remake aren't just remakes. They're kind of like love letters to the series and to its fans. Let me know in the comments below if you played the originals already. I'd love to know what you thought of them. If this is your first time diving into the early Dragon Quest games, what has you the most excited to experience these? I look forward to reading all your thoughts. Until next time, I'm out.